At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Ask me anything about games. I'm like, I think someone was named Sansa. That's the only thing I remember. But like, boom, it's all gone.
What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood.
I, Hercule Poirot, noticed the bandage.
With Margaret Abels
And Amy Wilson.
Here are 9 different Reddit threads that prove it.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas.
so you don't have to.
Maybe a little more specifically applicable, but it's a great law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy, and today we are going to talk about rules for making better decisions.
Okay.
As a parent and just in life, this is one of I love looking up these psychology, like ways we think and why we think things. So forgive me for dorking out and preparing this episode. I love doing this.
I'm just along for the ride here. I mean, generally, I do like to take tests that are like, what kind of Muppet am I? Fozzie Bear, for the record. You know, what Real Housewife am I? I mean, I like tests and quizzes.
These are like rules for the way things are and why the way things are. And some of them you're going to find out are not called rules. They're called razors, like Occam's razor, and which you may have heard of, and some other ones you probably have not heard of.
I'm an Occam's razor fan. I like an Occam's razor.
So the reason they're called razors is simply because they pare things away. These rules philosophers came up with over, some of them are ancient and some of them are 10 years ago, somebody said this, but they're ways to make better decisions by allowing you to pare certain things away, certain categories of things. You don't have to consider this, you don't have to consider that. You don't have to consider every single possibility when the doorbell rings of who it is. You can just think of who it would probably be, and that's how you make a better decision about whether or not you want to answer the door right now. It saves us time.
Famous saying in medicine, when you hear hoof beats, don't think zebras. That like horses and...
think of horses, not zebras. That's right. Yeah, I put this in my book, actually, and it's that you should think of the thing. Hoofbeats, it could be a zebra, but it's probably a horse. And so don't go looking for a zebra if there's a horse standing outside your window. It was probably a horse.
Yeah, and I think that in the post, I'm going to posit, I have no evidence for this at all and have done no research on the subject, but I'm still going to posit that in the post internet age, this phenomenon has gotten exacerbated. And that I think our national dialogue and our internal dialogue tends to be, this bump on my cheek is probably the flesh-eating bacteria that I read about on Reddit. And the reason why gas prices are high is because of the giant conspiracy that exists on 8 different continents versus, I mean, people have always had a tendency to that, but I do think the internet certainly hasn't helped. Like the availability of vast amounts of information definitely takes us to zebras much faster, I think.
Yes, exactly. But you don't always have to consider every zebra and every hoofed animal. Sometimes you can just assume it's a horse. We're going to make this easier for you. And we're going to make it easier for you to talk to the next crazy person that you encounter who wants to tell you that zebras are coming. Yeah.
What if I am the next crazy person I encounter? Then what, Amy?
So like the one of these that almost everybody has at least heard of, even if they're not sure what it is Occam's razor. William of Occam was a medieval philosopher. He was around in 1300. And he had some crazy ideas, but this one is really...
I just want to take a moment, not that he cares, to say, shout out to William of Occam. In the 13th century, you're basically so busy trying not to starve to death or die of a plague. And this guy's a philosopher. Like, good for him.
Yeah.
He's taking time out of his day to think about stuff when, like, basically everyone is dying of everything. And he's like, let me ponder some stuff.
Let me ponder this. Yeah.
Good job, William of Occam.
So the idea that has lived through the generations, the way he put it was entities should not be multiplied beyond what is necessary. And the very simple way of putting it that we might put it is don't make things more complicated than they need to be.
Would you like to give it to us in the original Latin, Amy?
Entia non sunt multiplicanda praeter necessitatem.
Entities should not be multiplied beyond what is necessary.
Yeah, people say like keep it simple, but it's really a little bit more complicated than that. It's like don't consider more possible causes for an event than the thing that it probably is. Like if I use this example from my own life. If there were meatballs missing from the spaghetti bowl on your dining room table and your dog's paw prints are on the chair, it was probably not a burglar who broke in. It was probably your dog with tomato sauce on her fur. It was probably her.
I always feel like I hear Occam's razor anecdotally. That means when you take away all of the possibilities that are, I don't know, outside the norm, it's the thing that remains, like in a mystery that you slice away. Like, okay, Amy couldn't have done it because she has an alibi, and Margaret couldn't have done it because she's way too nice to rob a bank. So it must have been this person who robbed the bank.
Right. Like that's the razor part of it. You pare away the hypotheticals and you stick to what is most probable. Like, you know, if it's raining, if you can see rain in your window and you hear thunder, it's thunder. It's not somebody making, you know, with a speaker outside playing a thunder sound loud enough for you to hear it. So you don't have to consider that it could be that. The example, so then I was thinking, okay, how do we tell people to apply these to their lives? I think the example that you gave before about the bump on your cheek is probably a pimple and not flesh-eating bacteria. Don't assume hypotheticals beyond what is there.
And does this apply to a life-changing philosophy presented to me by my husband? I don't know if this is Occam's razor, that don't assume ill intent. That like a lot of
that's coming.
Oh, so don't jump ahead. Okay, because that I feel like has been very useful to me, but I'm not going to skip ahead.
Well, we're there, so let's get there. I believe you're bringing to us Hanlon's razor. So,
I was going to say David Abels' razor because he's the one who told me about it, but he stole it from Hanlon.
This guy, Robert J. Hanlon, he literally submitted it as like a reader. Murphy's Law. You've heard of the Murphy. I didn't even include Murphy's Law here. Murphy's Law is anything that can go wrong will. It seems kind of more like a joke to me than anything else.
Right.
And so there was a book of like, send in your other laws. And so Robert J. Hanlon, like 20 years ago, sent in like, here's my razor. And everybody said, oh, that's a good one. And it's become, then now David Abels is talking about it at home. So Hanlon's razor.
And I will say, he quotes this exactly. Never attribute to bad intentions that which can be explained by other causes. He doesn't say that which can be, because I'd be like, what the heck are you doing? But he always says, never attribute to bad intentions anything that could be explained by something else.
Right.
This is a game changer for me. This has changed mi vida loca, Amy.
The original, I guess Hanlon started out saying, don't attribute to bad intentions what could be explained by stupidity, but people have sort of broadened that to make it more useful, which it's just not ill intent, it's carelessness, it's lack of information. The example I came up with is you didn't get invited to coffee after the preschool drop off, but that's because you were out of town last week when they talked about it. It isn't because everybody hates you and doesn't want to be your friend.
Oh, this is such a game changer. I mean, I always say the best advice I ever got. We did best advice episode. My ex said to me, you would be so much more relaxed if you realized how rarely anyone else ever thought about you. And it just popped up on my TikTok or Reels or something, but there's an amazing scene in Mad Men. I can't remember any of the characters' name because I do a complete brain dump after every season of every show I watch, because my husband's always like, remember this and this? I'm like, no, I flushed. Like, I don't remember.
How do you do that? I would love to do that.
I wish I knew, but I mean, it's like the minute it's over, like Game of Thrones, I watch every episode. Ask me anything about games. I'm like, I think someone was named Sansa. That's the only thing I remember. But like, boom, it's all gone.
I can still come up with Pinky Tuscadero as Fonzie's girlfriend on Happy Days 100,000 years ago.
Okay, so we have opposite skill sets, but it just came up, and there's a kind of good looking, like smaller guy in the ad agency, and he's in the elevator with Don Draper, and he's mad at him for some reason, played by John Hamm. And he's like, I think you're this. I think you're this. I think you're this. And John Hamm just turns to him and says, I don't think about you at all. And it just is so like, boom. And he means it in a mean way, but this is my Achilles heel. It is just a thing that I get very wrapped up in. And I know a lot of people who get wrapped up in. And sometimes when I hear it from other people, I'm like, okay, crazy. Literally, no one thought of you. It's not that 19 people are involved in a conspiracy to make sure that you don't hear about the volleyball game. Like, what? Like, no, this doesn't even involve you. But I think there must be something in our biology or our mental set points that makes us feel like we are the center of the universe and the center of every story.
Right. And particularly kids. I think this is really useful for kids, like your child's brother spills water on the drawing that he was working on for an hour, and he's sobbing. It's okay to be upset, but your little brother didn't do it on purpose. He didn't do it to be mean. He did it because he was careless, and he's saying he's sorry and he's upset too. And don't accuse him of doing it on purpose. Or help your kid understand that ill intent was not really part of it, and that unless you have proof that ill intent was involved, you shouldn't assume ill intent.
Yeah, and I mean, I live in a small town, and we'll be driving, on the way to whatever violin lesson, and we'll see 5 kids who are friends with my kids together in town at the pizza shop, let's say. Immediately, they didn't invite me. They're hanging out without me. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And believe me, this goes for the moms as well. Likely, they ran into each other at the lockers at the end of the day, and someone said, I'm hungry. It's not that there's a vast conspiracy to leave you out of the pizza plan. And I think that this also in working environments, I find all the time that we have something going on, construction going on in the town, right? And people are constantly on Facebook like, what idiot is overseeing this project? That the stupid people who don't even know that construction should take a month and it should take, and now it's taking 3 months because idiotic people made this stupid plan. That's always, how people talk about it. And finally, one of the town people came on the board and said, actually, we opened it up and there was like a rotten whatever inside, as what happens in construction. And now we have to get the state involved to clear the site. It's annoying. It's bureaucratic. But the way that people assume stupidity it's so frustrating.
Or assume ill intent.
Yeah, ill intent. Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. They're all taking the money. They must have all taken bribes, and that's why it's going on for so long. It's having worked in so many different kinds of organizations and seen so many different things. No one has the spare time to be conspiring. I'm telling you. They're just trying to get the sidewalk built, and they found something weird underneath it. But I think my brother, who's a lawyer, often says, you have to tell a jury everything, because anything you don't tell a jury, they will fill in for themselves. And so if you, Amy, are the victim of the crime and you come in with a bandage on your arm, totally unrelated to like the bank robbery that you're testifying against, you have to say, what happened to your arm? Oh, I was involved. I burnt it on the stove 2 nights ago. Because otherwise the jury is like, and she has a bandage on her arm. I'm going to make that fit the story.
Hercule Poirot, noticed the bandage, right?
It's like, no, I just burnt myself taking cookies out of the oven last night, and now I had to come to court today. But I think that this is such an interesting human quality. And for me, my husband's a very even-tempered person and just also super nice and gives everybody the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes I believe to his own detriment, because sometimes I'm like, actually, that person is terrible. And you should really know that. I think in general, that's right, that this need to fill in the gaps of like, what is the secret agenda of the people trying to build the sidewalk? Either they're idiots or they're on the dole or they're taking bribes or whatever it is. It often works against you.
It occurs to me that I feel like airlines should understand Hanlon's razor, and they should, as you say, fill in the blanks. Because, when you're sitting on the airplane and you see the flight attendants sort of talking to each other, and then the pilot comes out and they're sort of murmuring to each other, it's like, you hate us. You want me not to get to Chicago today. You're plotting to keep us on this plane forever, when they could just say, we're really sorry. The person who has to sign the paperwork before we can leave is taking a phone call, and it might be a couple of minutes because nobody can find her, but we're going to be on our way as soon as possible. We're really sorry. Instead, you just sort of wonder, and I find myself deciding that American Airlines is plotting to make sure I miss my connection.
And I do think that this is super important with kids. the small examples that we've given of like the homework and people in town or whatever. But kids are constantly doing this, constantly filling in the blanks that like our neighbors are getting divorced. And you may think like, well, it would never occur to my kids that we're going to get divorced because everything's going fine at home. Your kids are thinking that. They are constantly assigning meaning to things. And this is why it's good to talk about stuff out loud, because you'd be surprised what your crazy old kids are thinking about because they're filling in a lot of blanks.
All right, we'll be back with even more rules for making better decisions. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. Okay, this one was new to me. Christopher Hitchens, who was a sort of, bon vivant and thinker, he died maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, he was a very anti-God guy, as I remember correctly. That was his...
Anti-God, right. So he wrote a book that was like, God isn't real, whatever. So this Hitchens Razor came from, I guess, that book. And he was talking about God when he came up with this truism, but you can apply it very widely. Hitchens Razor asserts that which is asserted without evidence may be dismissed without evidence. So in other words, the burden of proof of a claim is on the person making the claim, not on the other person to prove the disproof. Like if I say to you, you robbed a bank this morning. And you say, no, I didn't. I was recording with you. I'm like, well, prove it. It's not on you to prove you didn't rob a bank. It's on me to come up with evidence that you did rob a bank. I can't just assert a claim and then make you disprove it.
In fact, our whole jurisprudence system is based on this idea, right? That like you can accuse me of something, but then you have to prove it. One of my kids is taking a criminalistics class, which is super fun and interesting. And we're talking a lot about burden of proof versus, without a reasonable doubt versus preponderance of the evidence and like how it all works. And it is kind of fun to revisit. Like, oh, that's right. This is how it works. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that I did something. You can't. And I can just say nothing at all in response. And if you don't do your job, then I go free. Because I didn't rob a bank, Amy. I was recording with you.
I mean, it's true, guys. It's true. I would be your alibi in this case. Maybe that was an imperfect example. But think about like every crazy person you talk to at a dinner party who comes in with this like outrageous claim, right? And that you're sort of like, that's not true. And like, oh, really? Well, then why do I think it is? That's not sufficient. You have to come with proof or I don't have to entertain your claim at all. Again, Hitchens was saying like, if you can't present me proof of God, then I don't have to engage with why you think there's God. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the downside of this is that the crazy person is going to be so excited when you say you have to prove it because they're going to be like, here are 9 different Reddit threads that prove it. And then you have to be like, that's not really proof. That's like Shingle Monster 126 who says that. And that's not actually proof. So I would say that Margaret's razor is just nod and say, oh, super interesting. And then find someone else to talk to immediately.
That's a good one.
Because man, when you ask people to prove their assertions, but I don't know. I have reached a phase in my life, I find in general, where I come from a very debatey family. Like every meal and everything growing up was like, well, I'll take the other side of that. And, I guess I do have sort of a podcast where I debate you about parenting issues. But in general, I just find that proving my point is so uninteresting to me. But more importantly, you proving your point to me is my kryptonite right now. Like, I just don't want to listen. I'll read a book every once in a while. Like on the podcast, we come up with ideas. I'm like, that's really interesting. But someone wanting to prove something to me is my personal nightmare.
And it's also like we agree that, dinner time is hard. Here's how to plan it, right? We're not coming from, there is no such thing as dinner time. Why are you talking about that? Dinner time is a fiction. That would be pretty hard for us to have an agreement.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that, like, as you know, at some point, a phrase always comes to me during the year that is my guiding phrase for the year.
Oh, yes. Have you given us a phrase for 2024?
No, because I haven't landed on it yet. And it's a little bit late, but I'm starting to think that my phrase for 2024 is facts already submitted into evidence. That like, I give you, what can we agree on? Like what facts submitted into evidence means, like if you and I are in a dispute at trial where like you want to you want to take over the podcast and I want to take over the podcast. We both want to fire the other person. Facts already submitted in evidence. It's like, your name is Amy, my name is Margaret. We host a podcast together. We've been hosting it together since 2016. It is about parenting. It is called this. Like, we don't have to, how far into the facts can we get before we have something we disagree about? Okay.
Yes. I get it.
And I think that is starting to emerge as my theme for the year.
Like, let's not revisit everything we both know to be true. We don't have to rehash.
Let's start with facts already submitted in evidence. We understand these things to be true because I think that with politics and family and conflict, that sometimes we're so busy fighting at the margins that it's like we have this huge pool of facts that we actually agree on. And I think that might be my phrase for the year that's emerging.
Okay.
Now, I like it. I'm not willing today to commit to it, but it's burbling up.
This next one I had never heard of before. I'm going to suspect that Chesterton's fence is also new to you.
I do not know of the Chesterton fence.
G.K. Chesterton was a 19th century fellow who gave a speech and he told a story. And the moral of the story was you should not remove a fence until you understand why somebody else put it up there in the first place.
So Smart. I have so many examples of this.
Yes. So don't change. So I'm going to put it in other words. I guess this one's obvious, but you don't change something until you understand why it's there, because what already exists that you don't understand might still serve some purpose that is not obvious to you yet. But if you remove it, it might be very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I was just in Banff National Park in Canada. And this was like, I have a literal...
Lucky. That's my dream destination.
It was incredible. Definitely, I would recommend Banff to one and all when your kids are like old enough to go like hike around and look at pretty lakes and think that that's a good day. But we were told a story as we were driving along the highway in a van by this tour guide that the roads that go through Banff National Park are dangerous. And, it's dangerous to the animals. So the wildlife crosses the roads and people were hitting them at night. And of course, that's dangerous for people too. So they put up big fences so the animals couldn't cross the road. Well, then all of a sudden, their migration patterns changed and like it wasn't working at all. Like they have to be able to get across the road. So they said, okay, we know what we'll do because we can't let them cross the road. So we're going to put in a tunnel. So they started putting tunnels under the roads. And then what happened, the unforeseen circumstance was the wolf would just wait at the end of the one end of the tunnel for the deer to come through.
He's like, buffet service. Here we go.
Right. We can't let them cross the road. We're just going to create a tunnel. Oh, but the problem was when we didn't let them cross the road, then they were dying because they were not migrating. And then the tunnel, like there was a reason we needed to let animals cross the road, and some of them died. Now they have bridges. Grass bridges. That's not Chesterton's fence. But yeah, they changed something. We'll fix this. And instead they just created a new problem.
This is so smart. And I'm going to tell you where it applies. Meeting your in-laws and starting to deal with their family. That is a Chesterton's fence. So I've told this story on the podcast before. I'm going to tell it very briefly. Glennon Doyle talks about this in one of her books, that I can't remember who the writer is, but possibly Maya Angelou talks about being somewhere and a rug gets rolled out and she notices that everybody moves to the side of the rug. And she's like, oh, these people, they rolled out this fancy rug and now everyone thinks they're, not worthy of walking on this fancy rug, but I'm going to show them that we're all worthy. And she walks all over the rug. And then people are appalled. And it turns out that's where they were going to serve the food, which is why people weren't walking on it. And she uses it as a metaphor for entering her in-laws' family. That like you walk in and you're like, look at my dumb mother-in-law who still blah, 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 who runs things this way. And that there are in any family system, there are a lot of fences and operating systems and ways of dealing that have been worked out over the course of 20, 30, 40, or 50 years of those people interacting with each other. And when your instinct is to go in and be like, these fences are dumb and I'm here to tear them down, it's not going to go well. And it's also kind of a rude and obnoxious assumption to make. And I think that we've all done it. And, we've all felt that way of like, well, why would you do things this stupid way? And I have a cousin he's probably in his late 60s and talks about driving by his childhood home in the winter and being like, those idiots don't know where the Christmas tree goes. Like, that's not where it goes because it's like someone else is living there. They don't have the Christmas tree in the right window. And it's like, right, we feel that we understand why everything is there. We understand why the construction is taking longer because we've filled in this story. This is such a good one. Chesterton's fence. I'm going to put this on my list.
Okay. Parkinson's law. This is one that you've probably heard of. I do want to give a shout out to the naval historian C. Northcote Parkinson, who came up with this in the 50s. He was also a mathematician. And he actually brought receipts and did math. I didn't write down the equation here because I couldn't understand what it was saying anyway. But it proves mathematically that work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
This is packing.
Yeah, if you have a day to pack, it'll take a day. If you have an hour to pack, it'll take an hour.
Correct. I mean, this is the law of packing, we call it, which is, right, like if you oversleep and you have 5 minutes to pack, you're going to be packed. And then if you have 6 days to pack, you're also going to be packed. And I mean, one could argue that you might be more likely to forget your toothbrush if you do it in an hour. But yes, that's right. And also, I think that this falls into the category of things are never done. And I remember at some point, someone, must have been my mother-in-law, was at our house and came up and said, the laundry's done. And I said, the secret to happiness is that the laundry's never done. There's no such thing. Like feeling that the laundry's done is only setting yourself up for the vast disappointment that someone right now is sweating into a pair of socks. Like the laundry is never done.
Yes.
And stop me if I'm jumping ahead, but this can also be the law that I've talked about a lot from my former like writing mentor, perfect is the enemy of done. That like,
oh, I didn't put that on here, but yes,
it kind of falls into this same category that being done is better than being perfect. Being packed is better than being packed perfectly.
Well, I've used this. Have you ever tried the Pomodoro technique, which is a way to like get things done where you like set a timer?
You've talked about it. What is it, like 23 minutes or something?
Yeah, it's called that. I mean, it's kind of a silly name, but the reason they call it that is I guess you can make a decent tomato sauce, a Pomodoro sauce in 25 minutes. So you set a timer for 25 minutes. I actually have two hourglasses, a big one and a little one. So the big one's 25 minutes and you turn it over like, I'm going to send those 3 emails that I've been putting off for 2 weeks, and you give yourself 25 minutes to do it. And it's remarkable what you can get done in 25 minutes when you only have 25 minutes to do it. So I don't do that every day, but when I really don't want to do something I really need to do, I gamify it. I make it like, how quickly can I do this? I only have this long to do this. And I have found it helps with kids too, to give them 5 minutes to do something. Don't say like, we're leaving in 2 hours. Did you pack yet? You need to say, we're leaving in 5 minutes, even if you're lying, and get them to do it quickly.
Well, I think this is also can be very useful around homework. We have a half an hour to do your math homework. Let's go. Because otherwise it could become a lot of like, we were just doing it last night. Let me do one question and then pet the cat. And it's like, if that's the way you want to approach it, it's fine. But if I'm helping you, we have 10 minutes or we have half an hour to complete this, because I actually don't want to spend 57 minutes of my Tuesday night doing 8 geometry problems because we're petting the cat and we're getting a drink of water and wait, I have to go to the bathroom. And so I have found the technique of, what are your 3 subjects? And we have this much time to do each of them. And so go use the bathroom, get a snack, get a glass of whatever you do. When we sit down, we're doing this in half an hour.
Yeah.
Because the homework creep. I mean, there's too much homework. We've talked about it. Homework is a nightmare. But there's also the problem of homework will expand to fill the entire evening if you don't check it.
That's right. I agree. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with even more ways to make better decisions.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. And now, the laws of parenthood.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
The law of change. The likelihood of your child having a diaper blowout is inversely related to the number of diapers you have in your diaper bag. If you have forgotten diapers entirely, the likelihood of said blowout is 100%.
Playroom's Law. A toy that has not been played with in 3 years will increase in value exponentially the day you announce your plan to place that toy in the giveaway pile.
The Playdate Theorem. Anything that can go wrong on a playdate will. Yes, you did just hear the beloved tea set your grandmother gave you crashing to the ground. You better get in there.
Dinner Time's Razor. If you take away all the food your child hates and serve them only the foods they said they loved yesterday, they will claim instead to want a food you thought they said they hated 2 days ago.
Newton's law of toddler motion. A toddler at rest will not stay at rest. Seriously, stop relaxing at the birthday party. That kid is about to make a break for it, and you need to move now.
Chesterton's Stuffy. Never remove a stuffed animal from your child's room, no matter how matted or disgusting, until you understand its role in the stuffy hierarchy.
The road trip hypothesis. Your child's likelihood to fall asleep in the car is reversely correlated to how much you want them to fall asleep. If you were hoping they would take a long nap when they get home, you are out of luck. They will fall asleep for the 6-minute trip home from the store and be cranky all afternoon.
The law of teenagers. All human beings possess inherent values that govern their reasoning and behavior, except teenagers, who are just feral morons. You've been warned.
This has been The Laws of Parenthood.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. So, next up is Hofstadter's Law. Douglas Hofstadter, in 1979, noticed that everybody was predicting that computers playing chess were going to beat humans playing chess within like 18 months. When somebody taught a computer how to play chess, like, well, that's it. But then by 1981, it still hadn't happened. Humans were still beating computers. Computers beat humans now playing chess. But at the time, he came up with his law, which was things always take longer than you expect, even when you take into account Hofstadter's law. Very self-referential. So this is kind of like...
Give me more examples of this.
Things always take longer than you think they're going to take. So I guess if you think you'll finish your homework in an hour, it might take 2 hours. If you think the new tunnel into downtown is going to be done in 3 years, it's going to take 5. But things actually always take longer.
Right.
Yeah.
The sidewalk. Because people are taking bribes and are extremely stupid. No, because it...
Right. Bad people. So despite your best estimates, I do find this. I don't know, I'm going to write somebody a birthday card, and I think that'll take me 30 seconds. Well, it takes you 10 minutes to go find the card, then go look up their address, then go find a stamp, right? That things take longer. I am too optimistic about what I can get done in a day. I list 5 things and I do 2 of them because things take longer than I thought they would.
This is a problem that my spouse has so badly. He will say to me, I'll say, well, we have to get these 3 things done over the weekend. And he's like, no problem, we'll do them on Saturday. And I'm like, great. So when you bend the space-time continuum and you are able to live in 3 alternate Marvel timelines, we will be able to get these things done. But, and I don't know, he's an engineer. I don't know what the mindset is. This one doesn't light me up, but he has this insanely, just the inability to calculate how long things will take. And I think it's a kind of optimism. In a lot of ways, it can be a good quality, but it gets very frustrating when it's like, we have to take 3 kids. And then, by the way, we're having people over at 5:30 and we have no food in the house. Like, at what point will that be? Like, the steps that it takes. And we talked about this with like marriage relations and trying to say like, okay, taking the kid to the birthday party involves they need to be dressed for the birthday party. They need to have a swimsuit because it's a swimming party. They need to have a towel. That needs to be in a separate bag. Then they need clean underwear. Then they need a birthday present, a card. Then the present needs to be wrapped. That like breaking down the steps of things.
Yes. This is, my spouse has the same issue. This is the, I'm just going to jump in the shower real quick.
Yes. Yes.
That if you're leaving at 2, you can start to get ready at 1:57 by just jumping in the shower real quick. That's Hofstadter's law, not being obeyed.
I finally had to, this may or may not be related, but I finally had to say to my husband when we're busy, like, you know, we had people over this weekend. It's like, we got to clean the whole house. We got to get, it was outside, you know, we haven't been outside in a while. We got to clean off all the chairs and furniture. There's so much to do. And then he like goes missing. And I'm like, where? I finally said, you have to text me. I'm sorry. You have to text me and say, I'm going to the bathroom. Or like, I'm going.
That's
like,
a good one. You must
just
text me.
disappear. Like, where are you? This is, again, Margaret's Law. You have to text me before you go to the bathroom. I'm sorry our marriage has come down to this, but like, where have you disappeared to for 25 minutes while I'm literally like holding a piece of furniture in the back waiting for you to take the other side? And it's like, oh, I'm just going to do this thing real quick.
Been there.
Nope.
Been there.
Nope.
This one is more, this is useful for parents, I think. Hawthorne effect, the Hawthorne effect. So it's named after Hawthorne Works Electric Company in Hawthorne, Illinois. They were trying to run some productivity tests. What would make workers more productive? They were kind of dorking out, like, do we give them breaks every 60 minutes or every 90 minutes? Do we have it brightly lit or maybe a little more dimly lit? Do we, have things come from the left or the right? There were A/B testing, all kinds of things to see which one was better. And they couldn't get good data because everything was better. If they had breaks every 60 minutes or every 90 minutes, they were both the same better. And like the light and the dark was both the same better. They were totally confused until they realized that the variable was somebody standing there with a clipboard watching.
Yes, this is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which is, I talk about this all the time because I think it's so true. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is you cannot study something without changing it. That like the study of it, and I was recently involved in a project and people were making a documentary about the project that I was involved in.
You're doing the project and then they're making a documentary about the project while you're doing the project. Right.
I was doing the project and people were making a documentary about the project. And I was like, guys, it's Heisenberg all along. Like and I mean, documentary filmmakers are always like, we're a fly on the wall, pretend we're not here, blah, 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 blah. But when you have a camera pointed on you, you do not behave the same as when you don't have a camera pointed on you. It is impossible. And this is, in science, Heisenberg is cited all the time because the act of like putting amoebas in a petri dish and like changes their environment. So you don't really know what you're studying. Are you studying amoebas? Or are you studying amoebas that have been pulled out of their environment and put in a petri dish? And they might be very different things. And I think Hawthorne effect, right, is that people work harder when they know they're being watched, right? Which maybe is the point of all those Facebook posts, to be like, we're watching you, construction workers.
Yeah.
And we want you to be faster. But yeah, for sure that I have a really funny dynamic in my house where we have a sliding glass door that I can see from different areas of the house what's going on in that room because it reflects in the sliding glass door, which my children have never figured out.
It's the eyes in back of your head.
It's true, and I've never told them, and I never will. Hopefully they won't listen to this episode. But yeah, so I'm often like, are you cleaning up in there? Yeah. Oh, really? Because I can see you're watching your phone. And they're like, what? Like, how does she see me? And they still don't. They have yet to figure out. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea that there are eyes on you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wanted to figure out how I could make this a useful effect to know about. And yeah, it's the same thing. Gamify it, right? If kids know you're watching them, they're going to work harder. Accountability partners. This is why I think I get more done at the library than I do in my house, because you are with other people who are heads down and you want them to think you're also working very hard, and you get more done.
I have found for myself over a long life of trying to exercise and having various levels of success with staying in, what I would consider good shape and at a top or even a bottom mid peak of exercise. I am a person who has to work out with other people. I think it all the time. I'll be halfway through like a really hard yoga class and I'm like, wow, if I was doing a tape, I would definitely stop. Like, but I would never walk out of a yoga class. And that's my Hawthorne effect. And it works to my advantage. And I mean, we're in partnership. I've always worked with partners generally. I just, left to my own devices, I really do better with the Hawthorne effect.
Well, it turns out humans do. So
good. Well, I
it's
must be
universally
human then.
applicable. This one's a good one that I also hadn't heard of before. Gall's Law. So John Gall, he was a pediatrician, and he wrote in 1975 a book called Systemantics that was about like the study of systems. So I mean, smart person because wrote a book about systems and was a pediatrician. Anyway, Gall's Law is a complex system that works is invariably found to have evolved from a simple system that worked. A complex system designed from scratch never works and can never be patched up to make it work. You have to start over again with a simple working system.
Love this. This is so smart and good and so true and so good for kids to think about. And I mean, my kids are still young and I mean, I entertain it because they're young and dreamy, which is great, but their plans, like their life plans tend to involve, like I have a logo for my business. That's step one, make a logo. It's like, wow, that's step 9 million.
Right.
Like step one, what is your business? What are you making? Right. What is the line of profitability? Where are you manufacturing your stuff? But they're just like, my logo slaps. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad your logo slaps, but you have to build such a solid foundation. And this is right. The house building is a good metaphor for this, right? Like you build a giant mansion with a bad foundation, it's going to fall down. Like it doesn't matter how elaborate it is, and fixing it, living in a house that was built poorly, fixing it is basically impossible. Like I always tell people who come to our house to work on it, you can skip the whole monologue, please, about how badly this was done, how it can never be. Like, I get it. It's a nightmare in here. But I don't need to hear the monologue for the 900th time of why would anyone do it this way? Because the person who built my house didn't do a great job. Yeah. And so we're constantly patching it, but it's never going to be good.
This is, I think, why so many times systems that we set out to create for ourselves and our kids can fall by the wayside almost immediately. Like I'm thinking of like I have a kid with ADHD and when that child was younger, I would approach with systems that were, color coded and large and exciting to me and completely overwhelming and didn't work for the first 10 minutes. And so you drop them when really what would have worked is a simpler system, like whiteboard. Like I thought about your example of writing, just scrolling on a whiteboard, what's for dinner. You didn't spend $200 on meal planner cards and things. And if you did, they'd be, in a decorative basket, right? But the whiteboard where you just scribble Monday lasagna, Tuesday pizza is maybe a good place to start. It's a good, simple plan.
Yeah. And I think that this is a good thing to keep in mind when stuff is not working. That like this is a great law to keep in mind when stuff is not working. That like, what is the foundation of whatever this system is? Because I think we have a tendency to want to be like, I'm going to add another staircase. No, I'm going to prop this up. No, I'm going to this. And that taking a hard look at whatever system is not working and going all the way back to foundations. And I also have made the argument that sometimes this is not possible. Sometimes in our interpersonal relationships, if you've known someone a long time and you've figured out systems that work, that are kind of like crazy matchstick towers into the sky that are like rumbly and rickety, but like you're standing on them, that you may not be able as a middle-aged person to dismantle that system and start again with that person. Like sometimes you just are like, we are on our own little rickety platforms and this is how we're going to have to relate to each other. And we're going to just try to have to not upset these rickety platforms because you can't tear down every system and be like, it didn't start from a good place, because
I believe you're back at Chesterton's fence here. This house is way too complicated, right? And
we got to but it's there for a reason. That's right. And if you come into my house,
right. It started with a reason.
And you're like, look at this dumb pole. Let me pull it down. Guess what? You're going to be killed in the avalanche of stuff falling on you.
Right. But when it's like not a house you're living in, but I don't know, it's a spreadsheet. We run our business, you and I, on spreadsheets, and we tend to add more columns, with sub-spreadsheet. Maybe at some point it's like, what was this really tracking in the first place? And you can kind of start over with a simpler system.
Well, and we've had that I can't think of how many times we've had that conversation where we say we're tracking this in 6 places, or these are redundant spreadsheets, and okay, like let's go back and simplify. Amy, I don't ask for, I demand a part 2 of this, because this was so exciting. We have bunches that we didn't get to, including lots of biases that are fantastic, that like making a decision based on a bias that you may not realize is there. And so I'm going to invite our audience to come to our What Fresh Hell Facebook page, which is at facebook.com/groups/What Fresh Hellcast, and tell us if they know of any good rules, laws, razors, or biases. And we will look them up and do a part 2 of this, because this was such a fun episode. I could talk about this all day.
I love this stuff too. And this includes ones that you have made up. Like, what was Margaret's Law? I forget what it was. Oh, you have to text me.
I know. I have to literally, you have to text me before you go to the bathroom.
Maybe a little more specifically applicable, but it's a great law. I'm going to live by it anyway.
Live by it. And with that, friends, we will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening.
So long.